Hello and welcome to episode 907 of The Sleeper and the Bust. It is Tuesday, March 23rd. I'm your host, Paul Spore, joined by Justin Mason. Justin, good morning, sir.
Good morning. How you doing?
I am well. How about you?
I'm doing all right. A couple more drafts in the books. Got my main event, my first main event done last night. Like my team. Interesting team. We're going to talk about it here because we've got some news on some of the players already. Did Tout Wars over the weekend. Feel really good about that team, even though I made a few minor mistakes. But draft season is like well underway, and I've got 2 more drafts, maybe 3. I'm debating jumping in the Colin Weatherwax or the Beat Colin Weatherwax league.
I'm debating that as well.
If you do it, I'll do it. How about that?
Oh my God,
I'm gonna
that's
put
so much pressure
on you. I really don't want another league, especially another Fab League.
Yeah.
But I love Colin, and
same.
He's going to be in my Beat Justin Mason league, which drafts the next night, but I don't know.
Oh, so he joined okay, because he was in mine, and that hurt your feelings, which we loved.
Mm-hmm.
And then he joined Vlad's, which further hurt your feelings, which again, greatest feeling ever for me. And then, so you had another Beat Justin Mason that he's going to be in.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm torn. But do.
Funny how a guy who's not playing fantasy baseball
he's fucking back in.
Colin Weatherwax, like, of course he is.
I mean, we still have 9 days left of draft season. I mean, he's already got 4 teams. Clearly, is going to have 10 before the end.
In the main.
I don't know. We'll see. There's only like 20 spots left in the main, so if he's going to get in, he's got to get in quick.
I know. Oh man, it's wild. Yeah, but I'm really excited. Obviously, we're coming down the home stretch of draft season. This big weekend coming up will be massive for everybody, and I'm excited. I'll have my main. I'm also considering that league. I got one home league, just a head-to-head points that I really enjoy. It's pretty competitive, so it'll be great. But let's talk a little news. Speaking of your main, you parlayed this news into a discount. We'll see what folks think about if it was enough. But Zach Gallen was scratched with forearm soreness. Now, obviously, you hear forearm off rip, people losing their minds. But I think Gallen, you were saying he's like even thrown a little bit, like he was scratched, but then still threw a little bit. Is that correct?
Yeah. So he was in the batting cage. So another reason why we want the DH to come to the National League.
Yeah, he was batting, which is cool, fun, and neat, sweet, and dope.
There was a pitch inside, and he kind of did a weird check swing and strained a forearm muscle. Now, people obviously, when they hear forearm, they go, oh, UCL, right? So there's a great guy to follow on Twitter. His name is Nick Savali, and he is, I believe, Aaron's dad? He is the brother of Aaron Savali.
Oh, God. See, I'm trying to make a joke, and it's the truth. That's funny.
I'm pretty sure he's his brother or cousin, something like that. He's a physical therapist. He writes over at Fantrax, so definitely go over and follow him because he's a really, really good injury source. And prior to my main, he dropped some info on kind of this injury because they said where the injury was on the forum. He said it doesn't have to do with the UCL. It's the other side of the arm. And and he even did a little video kind of outlining it. You should definitely go check it out. And so he's like, this isn't a Tommy John thing. He could still miss time for sure. But it's not like this is like season ending Tommy John type of injury. So I felt a little bit better about taking the gamble on him.
So you took a 5-round discount. Took him he's generally in the 3rd. He goes in the 8th. In a 15-team league. Obviously you got the whole meme about you taking injured guys, and there you go, taking one as like a centerpiece. But I have a hard time not feeling like this is a solid gamble. You got some intel to go with it. This feels like, given the nature of pitching in general and how many of those, like, I mean, pitchers everywhere, but especially in like that 4 to 12 round, like those guys that were all waiting to break out, like so many of them bust, and it's due to injury. And so, yeah, you might just get one of those guys there with Gallen, but you could get so much more. I thought it was actually a pretty worthy gamble.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Like, there's part of me that wishes I had that pick back, right? So, like, we'll talk more about my Toutwares team, but I did something I don't usually do, which is I started pocket aces. And so I already had Cole and Kershaw on this team, and I was like, if Gallen is my number 3, and I do get him, let's say he misses the first 2 weeks of the season, or even the first month of the season, Gallen is my number 3 is like a really, really just amazing upside play. Now Pablo Lopez was available at that pick, and so was like Patrick Corbin, who I love, and everybody knows how much I love him this year. So maybe I should have gone that direction.
Sure.
But, the rest of my, like, I've run the projections, on a few different sites, or with a few different systems, and with Gallen, getting 80%, I'm winning this league, or at least I should win the league according to the projections. Obviously, things can change.
Yeah.
And then, even without him, I'm still like a top 3 or 4 team.
Okay.
So, like, I feel still pretty good about taking the gamble.
Looks like you put yourself in a position to where he can really add on, but he's not he's not a total linchpin to your success.
For sure. I'll be interested to see where he goes in these other main event drafts.
Every main going, like, I mean, there's some mains every night, I believe, right?
Yeah, there's another one tonight. So
seeing where they go in that, where he goes in that, as well as some other guys, is really going to be interesting. Certain rooms they're really going to fall. Others, people might want to take a gamble and get a discount, but push it up a little bit. So we'll kind of see. But Gallen in the 8th, like I said, generally going in the 3rd, sometimes even the late 2nd. You really have an opportunity to cash in there. So I like it. I think it was a worthy gamble. Let's talk Kirby Yates. Now, he's out multiple weeks with a flexor strain. This one's a lot bigger of a deal here. And Charlie Montoyo, unsurprisingly, is mom on naming a replacement and just saying, like, flat out that, hey, it's going to be Jordan Romano, who most people are going to go for, or Rafael Dolis. Those are going to be the 2 guys to draft, though. Yeah. Romano went 9th in that draft that you did. Like, I'm sorry, that's, for me, this is one of those that even if it works out, even if he does get the job and take off with it, it was still a bad pick because you just didn't need to pay that price, right? So it's like you could get the best result and be like, see, he ended up being a 7th round closer. He saved 30 games. I did well. And like, okay, but I think you still have to grade it like at the time. And there's no way he was going anytime soon, right? I mean, am I crazy?
No,
I guess
you're not
you never
crazy.
know. Somebody else could have been in, but it was 7th round, not even 9th round. It was 7th round.
Yeah,
that's just too much for me.
Yeah, I mean, it was a pretty crazy pick. I mean, here's the thing too. Like, he went ahead of kind of proven closers that are like have the spot to themselves, right? He went ahead of Ryan Presley. He went ahead of Brad Hand.
That the Presley one was the one that really shook me because we were watching your draft in my Twitch stream, and that was the one that I'm sorry, like, that doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
Yeah, I just don't understand how.
And I like Brad Hand too, so like I have a problem with that. But I think Presley's on another level even than Hand.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've Hand and Presley right around each other. And like, so like, that to me was like, okay, well, that doesn't make a ton of sense.
Yeah.
Especially because we don't know that he's the guy. Like, I think there is a real shot that, Dolis,
for sure,
factors into this role. So
for absolute sure. Like, I don't see any way that you could feel overly confident drafting either. I like Romano too, big time, but there has to be the right price, and I'll tell you what, that sure as hell wasn't the price. Like, whatever, 7th round, that's not where I'm at with it at all. So I thought that was tough. You ended up snaking Dolis late, and I thought that was a decent pickup. So your closing situation, you got Chapman early, back in the fourth. Then you got your boy Archie Bradley, but you did back him up with Neris, who we'll talk about later. And then you got Dolis in the 26th round, just a free shot at the Toronto bullpen and get some saves there. I thought you did pretty well with your save setup there. I think you still would have some interest in some guys who might come available. You're not out on everybody that comes on the wire, but you're also not aggressively putting $5 billion on them either. I think you could be in a situation like where you have 2+ closers, where you have Chapman, the Philly closer, and then Dolis is sprinkling on a few saves here and there. And if he looks like the guy more so at the beginning, you can start him. You can start putting him in the open in the roster and get the saves that way. So I like that setup there. And if Romano's anywhere near the established closers, I think you have to pass. Well, another closer situation. Now this one, I don't know that there's anybody I want to get in on. Jose Leclerc is out for, quote, an extended period of time. It's the same kind of deal that we got with Yates. They both just got like nebulous timetables, but not good outlooks. And I wasn't particularly interested in Leclerc at all at this point during the draft season. I was really big on Jonathan Hernandez, but then he suffered an injury even before Leclerc. So now you got those two out. You got Joely Rodriguez out, the interesting lefty who came back from going overseas. Matt Bush, non-roster invite. He's 35. Taylor Hearn, interesting lefty, but I'm not sure he's getting the job. Josh Sborz, Sborz. Where do you go here with Texas? Besides, probably not at all. But like, we got to give the people some answers here. That AL only leagues, you can't leave any stone unturned. So where are you going in this Texas bullpen?
I'm gonna go with the guy that's not even listed on roster resource, and that's Ian Kennedy.
Yeah.
So I mean, quote unquote proven guy, old guy that they can hopefully get some success from, and then flip him to another team. I think he likely gets the first shot. I think Matt Bush could get a shot here as well. I also think it's an absolute nightmare, and I don't want to dip my toes too much into those waters unless they're really, really cheap.
I think that's the exact way to play it here. And, I'm burying Leclerc on my list. I'm not messing with it. Like, and I'm certainly not picking him up because I think he could lose the job to injury too. Like, I don't think it's Kennedy is a good call out, by the way. I don't think it's impossible for Kennedy to just kind of take the job and run with it and be just like perfectly capable. Nothing that's special and ratio's a little higher than you want, but he's like your fourth closer, your third, fourth closer type, and you just whatever, ho hum. Globe Life looks like it's not going to play crazy offensively, and so maybe his home run issue won't be as big of a problem. Although he got homers in Kansas City, so maybe anywhere for Ian Kennedy is just going to be a homer place. But he's got his velo up as a reliever, decent strikeout to walk ratios. That's a good call out. So
and apparently manager
Kennedy,
apparently manager Chris Young said yesterday that Kennedy and Bush appear to be the leading candidates.
There you go. So those are the two that you're drafting if you're touching anybody there. I know some of you like to get down and dirty and throw anything as far as trying to get some type of closing capability there. And that's general manager Chris Young, not to be confused with, is Chris Woodward still the manager?
Oh, yes. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so no,
former
you were right
players.
To quote Young. Yeah, it's two former players because general manager Chris Young did highlight those two, but it is manager Chris Woodward. So small difference there. And then that's really it for the news right now, which I guess is kind of good. So it's only 3 landmines. Unfortunately, we will get more before the season starts. It's just going to happen. I'll mention in passing that Raylo got sent to the alternate site. Reynaldo Lopez, nobody cares except me, but I am heartbroken. Tout Wars went off. Now, probably won't get as deep into these leagues because I think they work better as kind of written stories to kind of walk people through the league. Because I don't know that there's a whole lot in a Tout Wars draft that we can give info for that people are taking into their draft. But just give some passing thoughts. You were in the mixed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was in the mixed auction. like my team a lot. I'll run it down just real quick. Went
Sure.
cheap at catcher, Omar Narvaez and Tom Murphy. $3 for Narvaez, dollar for
Player.
Murphy.
Player.
Now this is on base percentage instead of average, so it's 5x5
Okay.
with OBP. My first baseman is CJ Cron. Third baseman is Cabrian Hayes. Andres Jimenez is my second baseman. Willie Castro is my shortstop. My middle is Paul DeYoung. And my corner is Gio Urshela. My outfield is absolutely loaded, and that was the kind of main mistake I think I made early on in the auction. I got Kyle Tucker, Randy Rosarena, Victor Robles, and George Springer. And
Ooh,
then
I
Sam
like
Hilliard
that.
is my fifth outfielder. Yeah, the only problem was that so I filled up those 4 outfield spots really early. And then
Yeah.
I also got Nelson Cruz as my util, and there's no reserve. The reserve players don't factor into the auction. They're in a draft afterwards.
So you got one outfield spot left
Yeah.
after pretty early time there.
And the prices were insane early on. Like, if you go
Yeah.
and look at the sheet, I mean, and this is why I didn't spend $30 on a player. All my players were under $30.
Oh wow.
But had I not done the Robles one, which is the one I kind of regret, I went a few extra bucks on Robles, got him for $21. It would have given me a lot more flexibility when the prices got really good.
Yeah.
Because I just couldn't fill that last outfielder spot, and ended up being outbid by a lot of other people on guys that went way cheaper later on. So, pitching staff: Brandon Woodruff, Joe Musgrove, Patrick Corbin, Kyle Hendricks, Ryan Yarborough, Dylan Cease, Joaquin Soria, Taylor Rogers, and Archie Bradley.
Okay.
So, I may need to be streaming for saves quite a bit
Yeah.
if Archie Bradley's not the guy. But I like the team a lot. I mean, and I think it's got a pretty good balance. I feel really good about some of the buys that I got, especially considering some of the prices that were going earlier. I mean, we saw I think 2 or 3 $50 players. Trout,
Oh, wow.
Soto, and Acuna all went for over $50.
Okay.
And so getting, like Randy Rosarena for 24, like getting George Springer for 29, getting Kyle Tucker for 28, like feels a lot better. Like I know those guys are elite players, but they really like twice the players of a Randy Rosarena.
I got a Rosarena for 13 in the head-to-head points league.
Really?
That felt weird.
There's some rooms, I guess, where he's just not as valued. I mean, I had him valued at I think $29, and I got him for 24.
I had mid-20s, and I was like, okay, because I similarly head-to-head points league was off outfield heavy. I had Harper, Yelich, and then Eloy at 21 felt like a good price too. And I was like, okay, well I've got 3, but here's a Rosarena, and he's $13. I'm doing it. I did it. And then I also took a gambit and went with, since he's a split player, I took both Otanis.
Yeah, that happened. We had a nightmare situation. I don't know if you were paying attention to the tout mix.
Oh, I missed it. What happened?
So, I mean, obviously this will never happen again because this hopefully be the last time we ever have to draft online for this auction. But
Yeah.
Ohtani is 2 separate players in the league, but we're using Fantrax's software.
Yeah.
Where he's only one player. And so what happens is the first person to throw out Ohtani has to declare them a hitter or a pitcher. And then we have to throw out the other Ohtani later on. Which, in hindsight, probably a bad idea. They should have just put him as, the listed Ohtani is the Ohtani hitter and then picked a random crappy pitcher.
That's what I did.
Yeah. The problem was
I threw him out.
Our good buddy Joe Pisapia threw out Ohtani and threw him out at $5. Didn't declare who it was, so they had to stop, figure out he was, and he was like, and I think Joe had forgotten the rule that he wasn't just a two-way player.
That he had to declare, yeah.
Yeah, so he goes, well, fine, I'll do, I think he was the pitcher. Yeah, he was the pitcher. And so they restart it, and he throws out Ohtani for $1. And everybody's like, no, you threw him out for $5. This went on for 25 minutes.
No.
Yeah. And it was right before the break. It ended up going into the break. It was an absolute I love Joe. He was probably wrong here. You threw him out $5. You declared him as a pitcher. That's what he should be. But I also understand he was confused by the rule. This is a whole weird thing. It took forever. It went on for a really long time.
That's a pain in the butt.
Yeah, and it was hard too because the person who was running the auction from the Towers board is Todd Zola, but he's not in the league, so he is in the chat, and he looks like he's the Siege because he's using the Siege's account to type.
He did that with Clay in our draft.
And so, people are thinking, the Siege is going back at Joe. It's why is he getting involved?
Oh, my God.
It was just a night. And I'm on a live stream. I wasn't in the Zoom they had set up for all the contestants. I'm on a live stream, what? And I'm waiting to go on Sirius XM. I'm waiting for them to figure this out so Sirius can call me. And it was a nightmare. That being said, it ran really smoothly once it was figured out. It was actually a lot faster than I thought it was going to be. But it was a nightmare situation.
Yeah, that's kind of a pain in the butt there. I ended up getting both. I threw both out. I'll try it in a points league. Getting all those points. Yeah, I had to use 2 spots. Maybe it's worth it. I mean, it's $5 total. So that seems all right. Yeah.
Joe ended up then rostering the hitter Ohtani too.
For how much?
I think he got him for $3 or $4.
Wait, did he get frozen at 5 on the pitcher?
Yeah, he ended up getting frozen at 5 on the pitcher. And then he sent me a text. He's like, I got both fucking Ohtanis. How do you like me now?
I feel good about it at a total of $5. I feel like it definitely works.
Well, especially, I don't know if you saw this the other day, but he pitched and hit in the same game.
Oh, I saw it, dude.
If he's gonna be able to do both in the same game,
it looks like they're gonna start loosening things up. We'll see, but
this could be really interesting. I don't have any Ohtani this year, and I may need to change that before the end of the year. So no, I have 2 shares of Ohtani.
I'm a fan, and the talent's through the roof. So I'm giving it a shot. That's where I'm at right now. All right, let's move on to your main event here and get kind of a few more thoughts that just kind of what you're seeing out there, because obviously main event did not take long before we started to see things really just go wild in the drafts, and that's what we expect from the main event. So I'm not too surprised. It looks like Giolito and Bauer are going to be first rounders. So if you weren't used to that, you might want to
and probably Darvish too.
Yeah, you might want to get your mind right on those 3, because that's just the way it looks like it's going to be, and that's the standard pitching push-up of a main event. We talk about it all the time, and you're seeing it. So what'd you see from the weekend that you took into Monday night? Anything at all? If no, that's fine. That can be the answer. But I'm curious. You were picking from 5. You got Cole. Any weekend findings that you were like, let me make sure I'm cognizant of this?
Yeah, so I mean, one of the things I do as part of my prep is I get every main event draft board prior to my main events. So I know exactly who's in my league that have drafted other main events. And I also get the supers and things like that and the platinums from friends of mine who are in these other leagues and stuff. So one of the things I've noticed is pitching is definitely been moved up, but maybe not as drastically as we thought it was going to, because the pitching had already moved up. We'd seen earlier drafts, so
that's why, right? Because it was already up.
It's really moving up into the top 20 picks, right? So it's not that pitching has been moved up like across the board, or even across the board in the elite tiers. It's like if you don't have 2 picks in the first like top 20 picks, like it's going to be hard to like pull off a pocket aces unless you really like one of these guys going on the back end of the second round. And then throw ADP out the window. Like people are just going to take who they want to take. Like it's just,
Yep.
I mean, this is one of the things where I think we talked about this last week. If you're not playing in the main event, like the ADP for the main event is somewhat useless because like we saw someone in, I think it was actually the Platinum the other night, start with Mondesi at pick 11, and then the second round they took Whit Merrifield. Like that's just not going to happen in your home leagues. It's not even going to happen in like a.
I really don't mind that.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of do a little bit.
I mean, it pushes Merrifield up, and like you probably didn't have to do it. So I guess from that perspective, like I guess they were picking toward the end. Merrifield usually goes early to mid third round.
Yeah, he'd probably be saying, "Well, I'm not going to get Merrifield on the way back." It's just that's a lack of power, and then no pitching.
Yeah.
So
No,
like
I
that
don't like
becomes
it as much.
Yeah, that becomes the issue there. And it's like
It's not a bad combo with that speed though. Like that speed is enticing.
But if you're taking Mondesi in the first, you're saying I believe that he's going to hit these projections we're saying for him.
Mm-hmm.
And so then you've got to, if you believe that, then why are you doubling up? Like I saw a couple other teams do the Turner Mondesi in a few minutes. And, like, don't get me wrong, I love the idea of, like, oh, my God, look at all this speed I've got. And now I've got a backup if one gets hurt. But you're saying that you believe that these guys are going to... you wouldn't be taking it if you didn't believe they were going to get you these numbers, right?
Sure.
So now it's like, if you win the category by 30 steals, like, that doesn't help you.
Well, no, but I mean, like, those two can get you 100. You need more than 100. And yeah, you're going to get some, but like, I'd be interested in how the rest of that build played out, because if they really didn't get anything but like single digit contributions and just went super power heavy, I think it's the right way to do it. I think there is a way to make that.
Yeah, I think there's a way to make it work. I just don't know that it's the right use of resources.
Sure.
So, but yeah, I mean, one of the other things I've noticed, and I think Rob Silver mentioned this on Twitter earlier today, any player that's got injury risk is just plummeting in these drafts.
Yep.
Like, guys who are dealing with an injury right now, guys who, have long injury track records, they're just absolutely plummeting unless their name is Aaron Judge. Like, Aaron Judge seems to be completely unaffected by this.
Well, because he's playing.
Yeah, I know. But, I mean, considering his injury track record, I thought he would,
Sure. But, I mean, I think the fact that he's always elite is such that since he's playing right now and has the second most plate appearances on the Yankees in spring, I understand why he's not really. And there is still a discount, right? Because he's a first-round talent per plate appearance. So going in the fourth round does kind of account for some of it.
We saw him going the second, I think, in the Platinum.
See, I understand pushing him up.
I
think
understand
third
too.
is about the best I could do.
Just yeah, I don't.
Who was still available in the second? Was Harper still available?
No, I think it was end of second. I'd have to go find that board. But yeah, I mean, it's just.
I don't hate that. I really don't. I think he's fair to go in the second. Judge can go as high as the second if you really believe that he's going to push like 140 plus games. I think he only needs $140 to really be that good.
That's fair. So I mean, injury guys getting pushed way down. Like the top tier of closers getting pushed way up. We saw a guy take Hader and Karenchek on the 4-5 turn, and I want to say
not even the right second closer to get.
Yeah, I think like 7 closers went, but in the 4th and 5th rounds of my main. So, and it's pretty common. So it's like if you want one of those guys, you're gonna have to pay the price.
It went Hendricks. You took Chapman, Hader, Karinchak, Iglesias, Jansen, Rosenthal, Romano.
Yeah, the Romano pick just. Whew.
I'm still so shook on that. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, I'm
just not
shocked by
good.
it. Yeah, so
It took Hosmer in the ninth though too. So
yeah, and then I mean, then there's just random guys that are clearly just flying up draft boards right now. Like Nick Senzel went in 10th round. This is a guy who is like going like 16th, 17th, 18th round.
have you
Um,
thought about a market watch? Well, never mind. I guess you said like with main event, it'd be a main event specific article,
yeah,
but
I
never
just
mind.
don't think it's that valuable to a ton of people. Like
Just
it's.
just look on the Bloom boards. He
Mhm.
kind of did something like that. Maybe he'll keep doing stuff, but yeah, it's just not as widespread. Like
I mean, there's
even at the end of the
570
day,
main event entries, but
and a lot of them are double
yeah, a lot of
ups
them are people got. I've got two teams. There are a bunch of guys who've got 4, 6 teams and stuff like
for
that.
sure.
So it's like really talking about like a total pool of maybe like 300 people.
It's a real
Um,
niche kind of
yeah, and so it's like it's
situation.
just not like. Don't get me wrong. It's interesting to look and like and kind of go, okay, these are some of these guys are some of the best players in the world, obviously, because they're willing to put up $1,700 for these
Hmm.
events, and so it's interesting to look and go, okay, oh wow, like this guy is 5 rounds ahead of where his ADP and draft champions are. And maybe that gives you a reason to bump him up or be a tiebreaker over a different guy or something
Sure.
like that, but maybe the article to do is looking at the difference in ADP between the draft champions over the last month and early main event,
Hmm.
and kind of be like, okay, these guys are the ones that these sharps are really, really paying attention to. Like Victor Robles went in the 7th round of this draft, and I had him queued up,
Oh,
and that would have
yeah,
solved a lot of my speed problems because I do have some speed problems here.
he's getting some love. He's absolutely getting some love here. Sharp, why are you crying? Where? Oh, she's
She
on the.
she she loves Victor Robles too.
She does, but she's also on the outside of the door. I'm gonna let her in. Hang on.
Okay. I'm leaving this in, by the way. He can't hear me right now, but this is for
Couldn't
you
find
guys.
her, and she was on the outside of the door. I was like, "Where are you?" I thought she was in here. She's like, "No, dumbass. That's why I'm trying to get in." All right, so that's the main event that you had. I'm gonna have mine. I think I'm gonna get in Saturday, and I might make it a double dip with the Colin thing and just have a mega draft Saturday, which sounds really freaking fun.
Yeah, it does.
And so I might have a main at 1, and then
Colin
be.
literally just texted me. It's like there's 4 spots left.
Oh my God, we need to make a decision. Oh.
Let's get through the pod and we'll talk about it.
Yeah. All right. So what we're going to talk about today is some of our favorites. Just some of our favorite players, one at each position. You might throw in a second one if you're really feeling froggy and have to get somebody else mentioned. That's fine too. But I just want to talk about some of the guys and just really put the names out there that, hey, we like these guys. These are the dudes that we're going for. I kind of worked more mid tier than anything else, but I got a few guys at the upper end of things. So let's just kind of go position by position here and talk about them. Let's start with the outfield. And I'm going to start with a guy that I love that's on your favorite team. I'm in on Yaz. I'm really in on Mike Yastrzemski. Like, I understand that he's 30, maybe even age 31 season. No, I think it's his age 30. Yeah, age 30 season. But I look at what he's done these last 2 years. I mean, it adds up to a whole season kind of perfectly, which I know can be a little dangerous, but 636 plate appearances, 3190 with 103 runs. I mean, the 4 chip-in steals I don't care about because it's 4 for 9, so I don't even want to pretend that those are a thing, but 281, 357, 535. I mean, dude's fully formed. Yeah, he's 30, but like, where's the flaw in this profile? I don't really see it, especially at the price, and that's why I'm big on Yaz, and he's going, after pick 150 very regularly.
Yeah, I'm not a big Yas guy. Statcast stuff is pretty pedestrian
Yeah, people
on
overrate the
him.
StatCast stuff so badly. It's
He had
such a
a
crutch. I'm
he
so
had
tired of
he had
hearing
a
about it.
370 BABIP last year. I think the batting average is coming down probably to about like 260, which is fine.
He had a
I
325 in 2019 and hit 272. I think he's a 270 minimum. I'd really be surprised if he really fell too much below that. Henry kicked the door stopper. It's just a madhouse in here right now. Yeah, obviously 370 is super high, but he takes his walks too. So I kind of buy into that, and we'll see where he is on the strikeout rate. That'll play a big role.
Yeah, I think he's probably like a mid 20ish home run guy, 260 batting average, some chip in stolen bases, a fair amount of runs because he's going to either lead off or hit third in this Giants lineup. One of my concerns is like the combination of the dead end ball and now the gate being opened, which kind of is the reason why San Francisco plays as such like a pitcher's park. This season, I just worry that the power will not be as prodigious as maybe other people will. Like, I don't think we're looking at a guy who is a 30 home run hitter, which, I mean, obviously is fine. I think he's very solid, and he's one of the few Giants that's not going to be in a platoon. He dropped, I'm pretty sure, really far in my main. Double
I've been all over that.
And I almost
11th round.
11th round. So yeah, I mean, so maybe not that far, but I definitely was looking at him at the time, like, okay, this is a guy that like he's not gonna hurt you. And instead, when he went, I took Joey Gallo, who is a guy who could hurt me. So
yeah, for sure. Definitely comes with more risk there. Yeah, I think he fits nicely in where he's going to. I just think Yaz is one of those guys that's gonna overperform relative to the expectations of the market at large.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think that's it's not a bad call. It's just not a guy I'm ending up with. Let's see. I'm gonna go. I want to pick someone who's on my main event team. I'm gonna go with Charlie Blackmon. And
okay.
Like this is one where like I haven't really got. I don't even know. I think this may have been my first share of Charlie Blackmon in this main event. And I'm just gonna double check that real quick because I've got 20-something teams already, so I don't actually remember. Yeah, it was my first share of Charlie Blackmon. And I was at a point in the draft in the 7th round where I was like, oh man, my biggest weaknesses right now are batting average and runs scored. And I was like,
he fulfills that.
Yeah, like he's a guy who, obviously last year we're throwing out because it was 2020. But prior to that, the previous 4 seasons to that, over 1,100 runs or more in each season. I mean, you could pretty much just like bank him for 30 home runs, 100 plus runs, and like a 300 batting average. And like I understand like there was a tail off at the end of last season. People are like, well, he's old. He's 34. The Colorado lineup isn't as good as it once was without Arenado in it. It's still a pretty good lineup at the top. And
it's still Coors. Like,
it's still Coors, yeah. And so, like, I think he is just a bit undervalued right now. So I grabbed him, and I felt pretty good about that. And if he drops again in my main event at the end of the month, I'm going to have no problem taking another shot on him. His ADP in the main events is 115, so
yeah,
I feel like it's
7th round
really good price.
Pretty good on him with Blackmon.
I set the min on him.
Even if he doesn't run, I don't have a problem with everything else he delivers. So yeah, I'm definitely in on that. Okay, continuing on, and we're going in an unorthodox order on purpose. We'll go to second base. There's no rhyme or reason in this order, but it's just not the standard, catchers and first base, etc. order that everyone did. We did that last year when we switched up our positional previews, and we're doing it here too. But I'm a second base. I'm going to stick with the obvious one, Jake Cronenworth. I feel like people kind of getting back in on his market, which is a little annoying. Hands off. You guys had a chance. You didn't want it. Now go away. Okay? Bunch of jerks. No, but he's having a big spring, which matters because he's fighting for playing time. So I'm definitely going to look at spring numbers and be like, okay, that has some merit. Profar's 1 for 31. He does have 7 walks, but 1 for 31, not quite getting it done. 3 for 29, Ha-Seong Kim, not quite getting it done. I think Jake Cronenworth is going to play a ton, and I'm still taking him everywhere. And so I'll slot him here at second base. He's a multi-eligible guy. I'll use him for my second baseman that I really like, and I'm still drafting everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, Cronenworth, I think the more important numbers than his spring numbers are the other guys' spring numbers. They just suck right now.
Yeah.
And I mentioned this with Ha-Seong Kim. I think on the last episode, like I think he's going to be one of those guys that comes back up at some point,
Yep.
and is a fantasy difference maker. But I also think he's probably going to get dropped by the majority of the teams that draft
Oh,
him.
for sure. For
So
sure.
I think, while there has been a roster crunch, you have Trent Grisham, who is not yet playing games. He might do long toss tomorrow. And then you've got Kim sucking, Profar sucking. I think Cronenworth has a full-time role. He may still move around because he gives the team added flexibility, but that's fine. If he were to gain outfield eligibility on top of what he already has, just add to the, flexibility.
Exactly.
Yeah, he again, another one of these guys, went pretty late, I'm pretty sure. Went 248 in my main event.
And Rob got him.
Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, I thought that was a really smart pickup. I was looking for different things at that point, so that's why I didn't pull the trigger on him. But yeah, I think he's gonna be an underrated asset. But I do think the price is going to continue to go up as people kind of clue in on the fact that he's likely an everyday player, even if it's not every day at second base.
I don't think he ever gets to a cost prohibitive standpoint, though. So
No, I don't think so.
I'll remain
His
in
min
the rest
pick
of draft season.
His min pick is 188.
Yeah. See, I got no problems with
Max
that.
is 310.
Love all that. What do you got at second base?
There's so many guys at second base. And this is what we've been talking about. People are like, oh, second base sucks. Well, it sucks at the top. It's the opposite of shortstop, where
Correct.
like shortstop is great at the top, and then oh my god, I didn't get a shortstop in the first 8 rounds. Now I'm screwed, and that's how I ended up with TD Gregorius.
I actually like Gregorius. So I
do too.
still
It's
consider him
steady
among
Eddie.
the pretty good ones, and then it starts to really drop off.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with Jonathan Scope.
Okay.
I don't know why he continues to
Undrafted.
go. Yeah, so late. I got him at 296. Again, I set the min on him in the main. His ADP is 330. I feel like you can just pencil him in for a 265 batting average and 20 plus home runs.
Exactly.
You can just kind of set it and forget it. I understand there are a lot of guys going kind of around that spot at second base. Josh Rojas is going around there. Cesar Hernandez, I like both of those guys, but Scope seems like the safest of those guys, and he's gonna hit in the middle of that Tigers lineup because the lineup isn't great, but I don't think that lineup is atrocious either. So I do think he could probably hit 20 home runs, 80 in terms of runs and RBIs, and 260, 270 kind of batting average, and when you're getting that outside of the top 300 picks, usually that seems pretty nice.
Yeah, and like I said, in some drafts he was going undrafted, which speaks to that depth of second base that Scope could go undrafted because there's a lot of Scope-like figures, and that's why I agree that second base isn't thin. I think it is deep, and it's just a different kind of depth that is different from the shortstop depth, star power versus depth. And we're 15-team leagues, even the 12-team leagues. I want some of that steady Eddie depth there, and Scope definitely fits the bill. Let's move on and go to first base. Now, the playing time concerns here for this guy, I don't think they're unfounded, but I think they've delivered a discount that is too good to pass up when Rowdy Tellez is going in round 26. And I think he's at least the strong side DH. There were improvements in his strikeout rate last year that might not be fully real. because it was a huge jump, but have enough to them in terms of improvements that he made. And I believe he got LASIK. Correct me if I'm wrong. I want to say that there was,
I do not know that answer.
An actual improvement that way with Rowdy Tellez that improved his strikeout rate and vision. So I'm in, and it's a cheap piece of Toronto. I've already mentioned how I like Gurriel as far as the star level pieces of Toronto being a little bit cheaper relative to Bichette and Springer and Teoscar and that. But then if you want to go really cheap, I think Tellez is the way to go, and I have no problem slotting him in at CI. So he's my first baseman that I really like. Sorry, I
Yeah,
skipped shortstop. By the way, that was an accident.
it's all right. We'll go back to shortstop, but I really wanted Rowdy Tellez.
He went 26th round in your league, didn't he?
Yeah, he went super late.
Bananas.
And again, another Rob Silver pick. And I think Rob said in both of his mains so far he has Tellez. Yeah, I mean, I think he's probably gonna platoon. But I mean, that's always just one injury away from being a full-time role.
Yeah, or performance too, because
Mhm.
like he's not bad against lefties, and if these gains are legitimized early this year, where it's like, wow, Tellez is still really not striking out, then I think it changes things a lot. And then all of a sudden, Grichuk has to cut into like Teoscar or Gurriel's time
Yeah.
if either of them underperform.
Yep. So yeah, I like that pick. I was really looking at a first baseman, like who can I get? Who can I get? And it's like Tellez just kept staring me at the face, and finally I was like, okay, this is it. Now I'm taking Tellez. Rob just
Rob said,
nabs him
nah.
3 picks ahead of me. So it happens. I end up with Renato Nunez, who I like a lot. So as kind of a late kind of pick, a little bit of a tiger stack with
I like it.
Willie
I'm completely
Castro,
here for it.
Jonathan
Scope,
Scope,
and
yeah.
by the way, Nunez is still listed as an Oriole in the software,
Interesting.
at least
Uh,
by the sticker.
has he been added to the 40 man yet?
Maybe not. Maybe that's why.
That's probably why. So,
But he should be.
um,
Should be pretty safe there. All right. So your first baseman of choice.
I'm gonna go with Yuli Gurriel.
Okay.
He's going
Late batting average, which you don't usually find.
Yeah, and I mean, yes, last year was an absolute disaster for a lot of the Astros. They signed him to an extension, so they clearly believe he's going to bounce back. Prior to the 232 batting average, which he had a 235 BABIP for when he's a career 291 BABIP guy. He had hit 298, 291, 299 the previous 3 seasons. Do I think he's going to hit 31 home runs again like he did in 2019? Absolutely not. But we're talking about a guy that's probably like 18 to 20 home runs, something like that, with like a 290 batting average, going around pick, 3 something? 292 so far in the mains. That just is a really, really good value, especially, like you said, late getting batting average usually comes at a huge deficit to something else. He's going to hit, in the heart of what is still a pretty good lineup.
I think it's a really good lineup. I think
Yeah.
it's being a little bit ignored because people are still mad at Houston for the trash can stuff. And it's like, okay, I get that, but let's not let that cloud our judgment on the talent that they have.
Yeah. So I really like Yuli. I've got him in a bunch of places. I did not get him in the main event. But he's a guy that I've got in a lot of different spots. I think ageism, I think the down year last year in the short sample are weighing on people, and I think it's kind of a mistake.
Yeah, it's a really good call out there with Yuli Gurriel. He just offers something so unique later on that it can be a savior for you, and especially you who likes to build poor batting average teams. Getting a guy like that can really stabilize you to hopefully make it so that you don't just automatically finish last in batting average. So good pick there with Yuli Gurriel. Let's continue on. Go back to shortstop here. Again, I'm not going to complicate things. I'm going to go with a guy I've been promoting all offseason in Tommy Edman. I'm still very much a Tommy Edman believer. I think he's going to bat atop that lineup. He's quadruple eligible. Even if you're not like super sold on the power and you think he's like a 12 home run hitter, that's fine because I think he can be. I really think he could be like a 30 base stealer because he's got the skills for it. I did an investigation of his caught stealings from last year. I don't see anything that worries me as far as like, oh, they're going to red light him. He got smoked a couple times by some of the best catchers in the league, and maybe he shouldn't have gone on them, but they like had to throw perfect throws combined with perfect tags. He also kind of had one against Brandon Woodruff that he left too soon and got picked off, but still required an amazing tag by Jace Peterson to even for that to even come through, because while he was beaten by Woodruff, his speed almost beat it out due to a poor throw, but there was a great like back tag by Jace Peterson. So it's like nothing in that 2 for 6 says Tommy Edman is screwed and can't run. He's 2 for 2 this season or this spring, 412 OBP, top of the solid Cardinals lineup, quad eligible. Why wouldn't I take Tommy Edman?
I mean, I love Tommy Edman. I've got him on a bunch of teams this year, so I'm right there with you. I think people are overrating 2020 for a lot of the Cardinals. You got to remember, I mean, they played 11 doubleheaders.
It's a nightmare year, dude.
They had it was just a crazy year. I throw a lot out. I mean, it's why we're still allowing Jack Flaherty to go like in the second or early third round in 15-team leagues, because it's 2020 was crazy for them, even more crazy than for other teams. So we're just gonna say that it wasn't crazy for Edman. Here's the stat that nobody talks about with Tommy Edman: 11 doubleheaders. He played in 55 games last year. He played in a lot of those doubleheaders. That's
nuts.
Yeah. So I mean, on top of the fact that he was playing twice a day a bunch of times, he also played in 7-inning games. So he got a lot of those, 55, or not a lot, but a few of those 55 games that he played in were lost 2 innings.
Brutal.
And so that takes away from what could have been some extra, counting categories.
Absolutely.
So yeah, no, I like Tommy Edman quite a bit. There's a little bit of concern that he doesn't bat at the top all season long. I think they do want to get Dylan Carlson up there, but I mean, at this point, he is going to be batting at the top, and the quadruple eligible is just so super valuable.
I think Carlson could bat too. Edman, Carlson, Goldie, Arenado.
Yeah,
could be a little quartet there. So I'm very in on Carlson as well. We've discussed that on the show, and I'm not deterred by anything that he's done. You're betting on the come a little bit with Carlson's price, but I almost picked him for outfield, to be honest. All right, who's your shortstop?
There's a few guys that are kind of interesting. I wanted to go Ahmed Rosario, but he has looked brutal in the outfield where they're trying him out.
Just having a tough one, man. It would have been nice if he went out there and kind of excelled, and you get a shortstop who's going to gain outfield eligibility. But man, I don't know that you want it right now with the way he's been playing.
Yeah, no. So I think I'm gonna avoid that one. I'm gonna go with Elvis Andrus.
Okay.
Going super late and
in Oakland, by the way. Just want to throw that out there for those that kind of slept on that trade. That trade was a little bit under the radar. So he's in Oakland, starting guy. Are you getting that vibe that he gets a bounce back? Kind of a classic Oakland thing where they pick a scrap heap guy up. I mean, he's not scrap heap in terms of contract. That's why he and Chris Davis had to kind of offset each other money wise. But are you seeing age 32 here where it's maybe he doesn't get all the way back to when he went 20 and what did you have there? 2025 back in 2017, 20 homers, 25 steals. We're not calling for that. But 1231 back in 2019, 275 average. How viable is that for Andrus, in your opinion, age 32?
I don't even know if that's necessarily in the cards, but why
it was a 76 WRC plus. He wasn't even that good. It was just the counting categories were good.
If he just goes 725, 258 like he did in 2015.
Okay.
25 stolen bases. I mean, this is a guy, obviously we throw out 2020 just because of the craziness and kind of, he was dealing with injury and then got benched because he was struggling when he came back. And then 2018 we throw out because he was injured. But other than that, he has stolen at least 24 games, at least 21 bases in every season since 2009. So you're telling me he can't steal 20 bases?
I'm not saying that at all.
Yeah, I mean, he's gonna steal 20 bases, and he's going super late. If you need speed super late, there's your guy right there.
Especially if you're stacked on power, because I'd put him for single digits. I think the 1231 is a dream season. It's a 95th percentile, but you just plan for more of like you said, 725. If you can afford to take on that power dip, that's pretty nice. I don't know if you read my piece yesterday on where speed goes
I have not yet, but I
but it
definitely have it
is
marked.
so expensive.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and you know what? I want to talk about this just a little bit real quick here. I remember talking about how there was an over freak out of like, I can't take Freddie Freeman because I won't get no first round speed. I have come around on that a bit.
Mm-hmm.
I will still be open to a build if it fits. Like if it's like DeGrom Freeman or something, I'm not going to cry. You just have to be very cognizant of your speed in the next few rounds because it's going to be drying up. But I understand the overwhelming desire because it's just not available late in any quality capacity. It's so damaged, the
I
speed that is available late.
I was behind on speed in my main, I mean, I still,
Ings.
yeah, I still feel a little bit light on speed, and I had to take gambles I would not have, or I would have preferred not to take. I really wanted Manny Margot in the 14th round, and I got sniped on him. And so in the 15th round, I took Miles Straw. Now,
We saw that, and you ended up getting the full
I have the
Houston
entire
outfield.
Houston outfield. So, and like, I think I can pencil in 20 plus stolen bases from Straw pretty easily. But that's it. Like it is a Malik Smith-ish profile.
Yes, he's the only guy projected for more than 20 in the Bat X that goes after pick 108.
Yeah, and
most of them are double-digit, single-digit guys. So it's
then I took
out there.
Jonathan VR, like who doesn't even have a spot to play.
He'll play a lot though.
Yeah, I mean, and like I got him in the 21st round, so it's like, okay, if he doesn't work out, he doesn't work out, but whatever. But I needed the speed, and like there aren't a ton of speed guys later. So if you can get Andrews, super late, I'm taking that gamble.
No, I agree, and first things first, I was kind of looking to be top 12, and this is just for main event, and it's a little bit different, but it gives you an idea of how to attack speed at the highest end. You can do different things here, but for main event, you can't punt any, or you shouldn't. You're very stupid if you do. You're really putting yourself up against the 8-ball, or up against the 8. That's not the right phrase, is it?
Yeah, no, it is. You're putting it up against the 8-ball. Like your cue ball is up against the 8-ball.
Yeah. So you really put yourself in some trouble if you punt anything knowingly. If the draft plays out in a certain way, sure. But you need about 120. At least that's what you've needed. We can probably scale that down a little because speed is dropping year over year. But that's about 9 SBs per spot. Even if you drop it to 8 per spot, that's 112. And then you factor in that you're probably not going to get any from your 2 catchers in most builds, you're right back up to 9. And 9 doesn't seem like a lot, but think about how many sub-9s you're going to get. Your first baseman, probably your third baseman, probably an outfielder or 2, and they start to add up the 2 catchers. So now you need so many more confined into, 9 of your 14 spots or even 10 of your 14 spots, and it becomes double digits per. And if you don't get a premium guy, if you don't get a Mondesi, Turner, Acuna, Marte, Robles, Story, Tatis, Ramirez, Merrifield, you're fighting. You're fighting, man. It's tough. It opened my eyes. It really did. I'm glad I did the piece. It's up now where speed goes in drafts. Take a look. Anyway, and both of our shortstop considerations will help you there with Tommy Edman and Elvis Andrus. Moving over to third base, I go a little bit higher end here. And this was, honestly, I'm a little annoyed by this move to shortstop that's going to bring some attention for Eugenio Suarez, because I was very happy to just take him as my third baseman. But now I think he's starting to get some attention, like, oh, he's going to add shortstop. Oh, well, let me look at Suarez. Oh, shit, he's amazing. And I think that's what people are going to realize, because he is amazing, and he took a little while to get going last year. I have no concerns about him. Like, I look at the numbers that he still had 15 homers. That's all I care about. He had 268 ISO, which is his second highest ever. Yeah, he hit 202. I understand. 214 BABIP, though. He can't convince me that the rest of the season plays out. He doesn't work his way back up into like a 250 type of realm, if not higher, because he's been a good bit above that the last 3 years. 271, 283, 260 from 2017 to 2019 for Suarez. I am still very bought in on this Cincinnati offense as a whole. I think he's going to dominate. I'm completely here for A. Eugenio Suarez.
Yeah, I mean, I've been here the whole time. I love Suarez, and I think he is underrated. The move to shortstop definitely. I don't love it for the pitchers on the team, but it definitely will add some really nice flexibility to fantasy rosters, and unfortunately, we got to beef up the price on him quite a bit. I already had him above Alex Bregman and Kevin Biggio, which I think was unpopular, but I think other people are going to start coming in line with me. So I do like Suarez quite a bit. Third base, man, there's a number of guys I really, really like. I'll refrain from talking more about my main event team, and I'll talk about Justin Turner.
Like dirt cheap.
He's definitely starting to move up, but I think the fact that he was unsigned for so long has kept his price down. Plus, guys tend to dislike, people with injury history, track records. Andy's older, but I mean, all he does when he's on the field is hit. Especially if you're playing like in 15-team leagues, I can understand fading him a little bit because the waiver wire isn't as full as maybe in like a 10 or 12 teamers. But if you're playing in one of those shallower formats where, there's a guy you can pick up when you throw him on the IL if he does get banged up, like he's probably, a 290, 25 home run hitter with, I think, upside for more in one of the best lineups in baseball where he's going to hit like, in the middle of it. I just think he's like a super, super solid player that always returns value. Like he always returns value even when he misses time. So yeah, Justin Turner's a guy that again, another guy Rob Silver sniped me on.
I think both Turner and Gurriel should be part of your game plan if you get like Judge and Gallo or Stanton and Gallo. Like I know Judge has actually had better batting averages, but if you get some of that big power, Gallo specifically, of course, he's the easy one to mention, but there's plenty of guys that have batting average issues. And if you get one of them, or a couple actually, then I really think you should bring Turner and Gurriel into your consideration, not actually as like heavy targets to really offset some of that batting average trouble that you have, particularly in a league where you are playing for an overall and you want to be more balanced. They can both really help. All right, let's move to pitching. We'll do starting and relief and then catcher. Again, going to go a little solid or a little standard here with a guy that I've talked up a lot. But again, this is about favorites. So there's a little bit of repeat here. And it's supposed to be just kind of a little crib sheet for folks. Aaron Savali, I have not been deterred even 1% off of him. Pittsburgh of all teams ruined his season last year with like an 8 bomb in the last start of the year. That was kind of annoying. He was off to an excellent start. He did meander a little bit there down the stretch. Coming in with a job this year, I still really believe in him and his arsenal. I believe in Cleveland quite a bit. I'm completely here for the Aaron Savali renaissance. I would take him over Zach. Please, Zach.
I don't have a problem with that. I think they should be much closer together in ADP than they are.
Exactly. That's my main point.
I think you can make the argument for either of them, honestly. But
Plesac's 32nd and Savali's 64th.
I think Savali has a little bit more upside too, in terms of what I think you can do with a strikeout rate. And I think, we've talked about this a bunch, and I think a lot of people in the industry have talked about this a bunch. Like, the margin for error for guys like Plesac is so much smaller because he needs to have that elite command in order to succeed. Not to say that he can't have it again like he did in 2020, but it's just such a small margin of error that can really be a little bit scary, where I think Savali can get away with a little bit more. So, yeah, I like that pick. Ryan Yarbrough is my guy.
Yeah, and you got him in your main, so that's good.
Yeah, I felt like we hadn't talked about my main more recently enough. But
hey, but you're not lying about these favorites. They're ending up in all your dang drafts, so it's not like anybody can call you out for.
I took Yarbrough in the main. I took him in TGFBI. I took him in my friend's fantasy benefits main event qualifier. I took him in tout. I understand there's not strikeout upside. But what there is really, really safe ratios with not a zero in strikeouts late in draft. Like I think it's Yancey Eaton, who like, friend of everybody in the industry, right? He's Kyle Hendricks light. Now, and that's hyperbolic for sure, but I kind of buy into a little bit of it. And if he's like my 5th or 6th starter, like I'm feeling really damn good about my pitching staff. Going to pick 227 in the main event so far. Just feel like that's just a really, really good spot for a guy like Yarbrough, especially if you've, rostered maybe some like high upside K guys that might have some, ratio. If you get like a Tyler Glass now or someone like that, you want to have kind of the ratio support, and Yarbrough does that.
Those teammates working well together for sure. I like that setup there. Yarbrough, don't think we're getting that opener back for him. That was so nice, but man, if they decided to do it, I'd be really pleased with the Rays on that one. Let's go to relief pitcher here, and I'm running a little counter to you on a guy. It's not even that I don't like your guy. I'm open to doing what you did in the main, getting both, but Hector Neris is too cheap as far as I'm concerned. I think he has a really good shot at just taking that job. I don't know that I don't think it's Bradley's. I think it is kind of a share, and I think Neris needs more attention for the fact that he could steal it. You're talking about the landscape that is closers, and I think he's being a little bit overlooked. They're both having solid springs. Neris's is better with 9 strikeouts and 6 2/3 to Bradley's 4 in 6 innings. Small margins there, but 0 walks from Neris is very nice too. So again, I'm open for the pair. I think they're cost efficient enough to take both, and then you're gonna hopefully find that one of them gets the job outright. But if I have to pick one, I'm probably waiting to take Neris cheaper than Bradley.
Yeah, I mean, I would prefer to just pair them up, and that's what I did in the main. I wish I'd done that more in my other drafts because I'm pretty sure Bradley is my most rostered reliever.
Yeah.
And so if he doesn't get that job, that could be really painful for me this season. That being said, like moving forward, when I do roster Bradley, I will just kind of double tap on Neris later in the draft. So, so I like the call. I mean, he's been really, really good. Oh, I've got 4 shares of Neris. So
okay, so you're supplementing.
Yeah, I've got him
supplementing
in a few drafts. So
yeah, he was a little rough last year in the 21 2/3. Walk rate spiked, strikeout rate dipped, but swinging strike rate was dead even to 2019 at 18%. So I think the strikeout upside is there, and I really think it's the 21 2/3 small sample kind of clouding the idea that Neris can handle this job. He's got 70 saves. Over the last several years, and that's over the last 4 years, and that's like I think top 8. I can't remember what it was in the article I did, but it's very high for Neris. So I dig him. I'm
gonna go with a guy that I haven't really talked much about this spring, and it's because I'm kind of getting on the bandwagon here a little bit late. But we've talked about guys like Nick Whitgren as a potential closer in Cleveland, or Chris Martin as potential closer in Atlanta. Going right around that spot, like just around like pick 300, is Tanner Scott. And with what's his bucket?
Hunter Harvey hitting the 60-day IL.
Yeah, 60-day IL. I think, and Tanner Scott has looked really, really good in spring. He's going to pick 301 in the main event so far, which is really surprising considering the other prices on kind of more muddled situations. I think Scott has a really good shot of being the guy like from day one and just holding on to it all year. Maybe the Orioles don't win a ton of games, but like, wouldn't you rather take that gamble than maybe going after I love Chris Martin and he's going later, but like we're not sure that Chris Martin has the job.
No, we're not, but I think we feel like a chance at the full job in Atlanta is better than even the full job a little bit more secured in Baltimore. I mean,
I think it's fair.
It's secured, yeah.
But Taylor Rogers is going like 70 picks higher. Like, I like Taylor Rogers, but that's clearly a timeshare at best. So, give me the guy
Scott's got the gig to start, right?
Yeah,
he has to.
I would assume so. I mean, the Orioles could do whatever they wanted, right? But I think he's the guy. So like, and obviously taking a guy like Scott doesn't preclude you from taking other gambles. And I think you should. I think people should take other gambles, take a bunch of them, and then, we'll know in the first week or two who's got the job and who doesn't, and then you drop them for whatever starting pitcher streamer
Exactly.
you want. So, but I think Tanner Scott has a leg up and the role. So I'm gonna try. I don't even have him on any teams. At least I don't think I do. Nope, I do not have him on any teams.
Before Harvey got smoked, it's a little difficult to want to take him in a situation where it looks like he was battling. Mm-hmm. But now that it looks like Tanner Scott's going to get the job, I totally understand.
Yeah, I think Hunter Harvey was the guy. And I've got a lot of Hunter Harvey, unfortunately, and he's going to get.
He was so cheap, and I thought he was going to do well.
I've got him on 6 teams, and so that is actually 7 because I took him in the Barf League too. That doesn't show up obviously in the NFBC one, and they're all, or 5 of the 6 are draft and hold, so I'm stuck with them. So maybe he comes back and I get some saves later in the season, but in the one Fab League I've got him in, he's going to be off my team before the start of the season.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the way to go with it with regards to Hunter Harvey and a 60-day IL stint. Closing it out with catcher, I'm going to go Homer. I'm going to go Wilson Ramos. Wilson Ramos has consistently been a quality catcher, and I think he's going to kind of get back to that this year with the Tigers. He was a little down last year, a lot down, 239 average, thanks to a 271 BABIP. I do worry a little bit about the fact that he has no speed, going to eat up a few hits, so he might not get back up into the 288, 306 that we saw in 19 and 18, respectively. But I'll take 260 with double-digit homers, and then the accumulated runs and ribbies as the main guy in Detroit. I think he can get as many as 2 days off a week, but I'll still take him playing mostly 5 times a week.
Yeah, here's the thing: when we're talking about cheap catchers, what are we looking for? We're looking for someone who's not going to hurt us.
Exactly.
That's because most catchers, when we're talking about the guys going outside of probably the top 12 guys, are just going to end up giving you negative value. So it's less about finding guys who are going to pop and more about finding guys with safe floors. And that's why I like Wilson Ramos. And his ADP is 288 in these main events. I think that's totally fair as either a really, really cheap catcher 1 or a really, really nice catcher 2.
Yep.
And I'm going to go in the same vein of that, and I'm gonna go a little homerism here, but I'm going to go with Buster Posey. So I took him in the main event at pick 326 as my catcher 1, and then I paired him with another guy who I feel kind of very similar with in Yan Gomes, another just guy who isn't going to hurt me.
Just a boring veteran.
And with Posey, we've seen the decline, right? The decline has already been here for a little while, but what if part of the decline has been the fact that he's just dealt with nagging injuries as a full-time catcher? Mm-hmm. And the year off may actually, supposedly he's in really, really great shape, looks pretty decent in spring. So, I'm not saying we're going to see Buster Posey of old by any stretch of the imagination. I think the days where Buster Posey is a 20 home run hitter passed many, many years ago. But if he's a double-digit homer guy and he can get back to the 280, 290 batting average from a catcher,
that'd be huge if Posey can give you some batting average.
A ton of value, especially when most catchers going around that spot are giving you a 230 to 230, 240 best batting average. So I'm here for maybe a resurgence year for Buster Posey.
Yeah, I can get behind it because it's just not expensive, and so
what might be his last year. He's got a club option that I doubt the club is going to pick up.
I think the time off aspect is interesting to point out, and maybe that rejuvenates the legs a bit. Mm-hmm. So yeah. I can see it. I don't think it's out of bounds. And we are looking for non-pain among these late catchers, like you said.
Yeah.
I'll throw a quick shout out. Omar Narvaez, I just don't see him being that bad again, like
I
at
I
all. I
have
love him.
got Omar Narvaez everywhere. The only reason I didn't take him yesterday was because I have him everywhere, and I wanted, I've got him in 5 teams already, and I wanted to kind of diversify a little bit. But I got him in
For
tout,
sure.
so I actually got him in 6 teams.
Give me Ramos Narvaez, and I'm feeling fine at catcher. I really am.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, and just in general catcher strategy. Like, if I don't get you JT Realmuto, which I haven't gotten, I'm just waiting. Like,
Yeah.
Especially now that Austin Nola is injured. Like, unless a guy really, really drops, like I've taken some shots on Gary Sanchez when he's dropped in drafts, just because the upside, if he can just get some like real huge BABIP luck in a season, is huge.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, I've been waiting. Like, I don't even consider guys until I'm getting into that like 280 range where Posey and Ramos and Alfaro and Carson Kelly and Yadimir Molina are going. Because Molina's another one of those guys where it's like going outside the top 300. It's like he's going to play a lot.
Yeah.
And he can just accumulate a catcher, which not a lot of guys can do. So
that's the beauty.
I'm just
potential
not paying
accumulator.
for catcher. Even in a 2-catcher league, I'm just not paying for it.
Still hoping for that Varsho to the outfield thing, if that happens, to see what he could do. I did get him
He
one
looks
place. Just
brutal in spring.
yeah, oh yeah, totally awful. Like, and he didn't look good last year, so I don't hold out a lot of hope for it. I did get the one share. Definitely not putting him in the same vein as like a recommendation here. Just kind of pointing it out since we're talking catcher. But that's going to do it for us there, talking about our favorites. Maybe we'll talk about some fades on Thursday. Just guys that no matter what, we just can't get there on their current prices, and talk about why we have some issues with them. But until then, Justin, have a good one.
Take it easy.